So this is showing what we're after, which is a bunch of vector SVG elements, path elements that are closed and can be filled, um, and represent keys on the piano, with the black keys having actually two regions. And you notice that there's some tricky stuff that goes on here, where here you can see there's an error where there's a straight line that shouldn't be there. That's probably fixed in the original, but or the master drawing where I draw the paths. But you can see as you divide them into, you have to have, you have these points here, important points like right here and here, where different regions come together. Also points like here and here. And sometimes those happen here. They're happening near each other. There's one, two close together little divider points. Here it's a little different situation just because of the way the perspective is on it and the way the keys are different as to their overlap of the white and black keys. But this is what we're after, and you just need to keep in mind that that's what we're trying to create. And now I'm going to show how I create these individual path elements that go into this. And they have to be created with some precision and make sure that at these important little join points, they connect exactly, not just really close. That's very important. So you can see I have two layers here, one of which has the image on it. I can turn that off if I don't want to see the image, but we'll leave it there for reference. I want to draw everything on layer 2. It's easiest if I just keep my layers consistent there. Easiest if I just pick any element on layer 2 to make sure that I'm drawing on layer 2 without selecting everything in the on the layer. And it's a little bit weird that way that selects an element, but as soon as I'm drawing, that element will not be selected anymore, and we'll place the new element on the new layer, or on that layer, layer 2. You'll notice that I have these colored just to show you that there are many separate paths, and they all touch each other. But the reason there's so many, if you zoom in here, I do a control scroll wheel to see, like, this is a different element here. The blue one divides, well, actually, let's just be sure. Yeah, there's two items there. That's a little confusing because there's two of them that are blue. But you can see how I choose where to divide between these. This point right here separates between this item, half of the black key, this white key, and this white key. And you have to divide them there. It's no big deal if you draw a curve. If you continue a curve through there, you can always split a curve in half, but we will eventually need to split them at those important points where you divide things. For instance, down here, where this point right here, you can see the green curve divides between this key and the other key, while the yellow curve divides between this key and the background. So we're going to start a new curve right at this point here. So I'll use my drawing tool, and I'm going to snap onto that cusp point. It's important that you have it exactly on that cusp point. It'll make life easier later when we group them all together. Now I'm going to zoom out here. That's control scroll wheel, space bar to scroll. You can zoom in as close as you need to here. Here I don't really need to be that close. And you notice I'm just doing a chamfer, not trying to do a round while I draw. I tend to hit enter to complete an object. I'm gonna open my fill and stroke menu. I find that kind of handy to be able to just after I draw something, give it a color that you can so you can see it and differentiate it. And I've tended to give them a stroke of 4 just so I can see them. Um, and then we can do our, I'm going to zoom in, control scroll, and fix that chamfer by tweaking it with this tool. And you can just grab the curve itself, and that's good enough. But I do try and make it so that the control points are tangent to the lines they come from here. So we've got a smooth curve in and out. Zoom out, control scroll wheel, use the space bar. And tweak that. That looks pretty good. This one should be, this one actually doesn't have to be tangent to anything because it gets kind of cut off by this guy here. So that curve's done, and we'll draw another curve. Now I want to hit this, I don't want to just click on here while this is selected or it will continue that curve. I don't want it to do that in this case, but I will go to that cusp point. Sometimes it's a little tricky to get it, and again use the space bar trick. There's going to be a little curve at the end of this one. Space bar, let's zoom out a little bit. Space bar, we want to come all the way up to here, and that's probably just going to be the final point of this curve right here. Again, we're just trying to find where we want it to be in the dark area so that you don't actually see a hard edge typically on the in the final thing, because these SVGs are going to be underneath the photograph. And we'll put it there. Press the enter key to complete it. I'll say 4, and let's give it a stroke color just to make it stand out. Let's make it yellow. And again, we have to go in here and do a little, oops, what did I do? I think I deleted it by hitting the space bar or something. But in any case, we'll go in here and do the tweaker tool, and yeah, that should be something like this. Remember, it doesn't really have to be tangent to this guy here because this curve is for the edge of this key. Okay, so I think we're good on that one. We will now draw another curve. Starting at this point, remember, hit escape to unselect it, but we want to start on that cusp point. Drawing a chamfer rather than a round to begin with is the easiest way. At least I find it to be. You can technically do the round as you draw, but I don't find that easier. And then come right there. Hit enter. Hit, give it a color. Let's do a nice bright blue. 4. And go down here and do my tweaker. This one needs to be, technically it should be tangent to the yellow curve, not necessarily the green curve. And for whatever reason, the little points don't show up here always. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And, you know, having it be perfectly tangent is probably overkill. Or worrying too much about that is overkill. Because this is a small detail, but still, I like to have it kind of look good. And there we go. And escape. And click to unselect it. And there we've got another few little curves on there. We got to keep doing them. The tough ones are when we get into this territory, because remember we have to divide this in half and we have to eyeball that, and then we have to do so there's going to be a little curve just going from here to the point where that is split in half. And you know, let's see, these two probably technically, I think, yeah, these two could be combined. It doesn't matter if they're not combined, but they can be combined into one, because that is dividing the black key, or the left side of the black key, with this white key right here. And that point, even though it's a sharp point, technically is not does not have to be a separate curve, because it's not creating a transition between where it's dividing between two different sets of elements.